Alrighty, hey guys, it is currently 8:30 a.m. on the 14th of April. I landed back in Ohio at 10 p.m. on the 9th of April, and I was in Japan for 2 weeks. I have always wanted to go to Japan, for very dumb reasons, if I'm honest. I've always had a fascination with Japanese culture, much more prevalent as I've gotten older. A lot of the reason, really, that I'm fascinated with Japanese culture is because of Fatal Frame. I like the Shinto and Buddhist religious culture, the very spiritual culture, the history. There's a lot to it, and I think Fatal Frame was just the start of it, because, I mean, I know there's a lot more to Japan than just that, and I'm not going to sit here and act like that's the only reason, but it was the start. Like I said, it can be a kind of stupid reason. The other reason, actually, is a funny story. When I was younger, I'm talking like 6 or 7 years old, my grandparents lived in Maryland, and they were close to Washington, D.C. And in D.C., there is a cherry blossom festival, because there's a whole lot of cherry blossom trees all over D.C. And my mom had never seen them. So all the kids, my mom and my grandma, loaded up in the car, and we drove to DC from Maryland. Now, it wasn't like an exceptionally long drive, but 30 to 45 minutes for little 6 to 7-year-old Finn wasn't having it. Because when I would ask where we were going, my mother's response was crazy, and it's a short trip. I always hated that. And yes, I still hold a grudge against it. So we drove 30 to 45 minutes into DC, and when we got there, traffic was wild, and my mom goes, look at the pretty trees. My response was, we drove all the way out here to see pretty trees. And that has haunted me since I was a child. Because it never happened with my sister or my brother, but when I would ask where we're going, the answer was always to go see pretty trees. Fast forward down the line about 15 years, and I took a trip to DC when I was working at Chick-fil-A. My Chick-fil-A store shut down to be remodeled, so while it was closed down, Bradley and I took a little mini vacation. We took a long weekend over to Washington, D.C. Little did I realize that the weekend that we went was the second to last weekend of the Cherry Blossom Festival held in Washington, D.C., so it was pretty crazy. But the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, and I could not get enough of these trees, right? Took so many pictures. I loved the smell. I just loved being around the cherry blossoms. Only to come home and find out that those were the pretty trees that my mother took me to all those years ago that I hated. Fast forward another 10 years, and here I am. I traveled halfway across the planet to see more pretty trees. I planned my Japan trip on a week that we would be able to see the cherry blossoms. And we did. Ueno Park was beautiful. Yokohama, we stayed in Yokohama, and there's a Yokohama Park, and there was like a little shrine on the park premises. It was so pretty. So yeah, pretty trees and Fatal Frame is the only reason I wanted to go to Japan. It's not the only reason, but I can't believe I finally got to go. I told Bradley that I wanted our first trip after the wedding to be a big deal. So I was like, okay, should we go to Japan? And he said, let's do it. Holy cow. The planning process for this was something else. I've never left the country before, so this is a big deal. As of right now, like I mentioned, it's about a week after I landed, and I think I'm finally past recovery. I knew it was gonna be a culture shock, but boy, was it a lot. When we got there, it wasn't that big a deal because we landed in Tokyo at about 9 p.m., got to the hotel, went to sleep, and then we were up at like 4 a.m. the next morning. You know, we had stuff planned. We were excited. We had stuff to do while we were there. Well, little did I realize that since I've been studying Japanese with an app for like 2 years, so I could kind of make out what they were trying to say, and I was trying to talk more in Japanese, speak more in Japanese. So I kind of became designated translator for Bradley too. Little did I realize how much of a mental toll that took on me. Not only that, but I also set up my phone with the international coverage, which also meant I was playing Navigator. So I had quite the chore while I was on vacation. Also, vacation, I was racking up 20,000 steps a day. It's really hot, and I think that's why my face is red. Sorry, guys. So 2 weeks of translating, navigating, and running on adrenaline and espresso. I think that on the way back, adding jet lag on top of it, because we didn't have anything planned when we got back home. So, like, nothing we were, like, looking forward to. We didn't need to be up for anything. So the moment I would sit down anywhere, I'm just falling asleep. So that's why I'm recording this at 8 a.m. a week after landing. My God, getting back to work has been a struggle. I was asleep at like 5 p.m. yesterday. Like asleep on the couch. I was out. I'm getting there. I think I'm over the big hurdle. So I think I'm getting there. We'll see how today turns out because I need to go into work in a couple of hours. But yeah, I wanted to talk things out, make a video for you guys, because I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know some stories from Japan and everything. I am not going to talk about everything that we did in Japan, otherwise this video is going to be 3 hours long. But I did want to talk about some of my favorite moments that we ran into while we were over there. Honestly, if you guys want to hear more about it, like some of the other stuff that I'm not going to mention in the video, I'll most likely be talking about it while I'm live streaming or while I'm recording other videos. And so just so you know, you guys aren't going to miss anything. I'm going to be talking about this trip for the next year, probably, and annoying the crap out of you guys. And but I had an amazing time. Actually, if you guys look right there, that's new. That is the first volume of the Full Metal Alchemist manga in Japanese. Can you see? But yeah, it's all in Japanese. Check that out. So like I said, I've been studying Japanese for like 2 years it's just with an app. So I'm by no means fluent. I cannot read Japanese. I will eventually. It's my goal. So, but since we have the art book, the anniversary book, the collector's edition, Bradley really wanted the first volume of the manga, like the Japanese version, you know, where it started, you know. So Bradley really wanted that, and we went to, what was it called? Book Off, I think is what it's called. It's basically a buy-sell trade store in Japan where you can bring in old manga or video games or movies. Sorry, I don't know why I have the hiccups. Probably because I just finished my coffee. But you can sell them to this place and they're going to resell them for profit or however they want to do it. And that's where we found this. So it was really discounted, actually. I can't remember how much it was. And also, it was so wild. We would convert all the, well, not all of them, but most of the transactions from yen to the US dollar. And oh my God, why was everything so cheap? So one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about, like, thoroughly in a video is my experience with Japanese claw machines. Which sounds ridiculous, I know, but let me explain, because I'm oddly good at them, okay? Okay, so all over Japan there are arcades, and in the arcades they're normally divvied up by floor. And, well, at least the ones that we visited were. Sometimes they were like 3 floors, some of them were like 6 floors, and like the ones that I went to, each floor had a different thing, like a different theme of video games. So like the top floor was rhythm-based games, the next floor down was racing games, the next floor down was all claw machines, and you know, so it's so funny because I've been to a casino before, and I hate going to casinos because It's very overstimulating. The flashing lights, the loud sounds from the machine, the music playing and everything. But I didn't get that when I walked into a Japanese arcade. Which is weird, isn't it? And actually, like, you'd think I would be more overstimulated from it because it was so much more compact. That's actually the biggest difference that I've noticed. And it kind of makes sense, though. Japan is a very tiny island with a massive population. So in order to make any sort of business or housing or farming work, everything needs to be compact. And that'll include everything that they make. They're like all of their like product is even compact. Like the cars are even smaller over there than they are here in America. And it makes sense as to why. That was like, I didn't really, there's always like the running joke of everything is tiny in Japan. And yeah, it is, because it needs to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to make do with anything. But here in America, you can drive 30 minutes across Ohio and not see a house for, you know, over 5 miles, you know? But you don't have that in Japan. They have to utilize so much of their land for so many different things. So that was a really cool perspective for me, that's all. Yeah, they were, like, those arcades were much more compact, which I would think would make me really overstimulated. I don't know, maybe it was because I was running on adrenaline, so I wasn't getting overstimulated. Or just because there's, like, something in the atmosphere over there that I felt much more at peace while I was in Japan. Probably because I was on vacation. I wasn't going to work every day. I wasn't being haunted by my chores or what I have to do at work, and maybe it was just vacation brain. Maybe it was because it was in Japan. I don't know, but I'm grateful I got to experience it, obviously. Anyway, claw machines, my god. This is gonna be a fun video to edit. So, we were roaming around these claw machines, and the claw machines sometimes have like snacks in them. They have like snack bundles, or they have, you know, anime figurines. They have, you know, plushies, like Pokemon plushies, or Hello Kitty was huge over there too. But yeah, so like a whole bunch of different ones. The snack ones kind of bugged me because it's like I would look at it and be like, how long have those chocolate bars been sitting in that machine? You know, like, I don't know. I avoided the snack ones. That's just a personal thing with me. I'm sure they maintain their stuff well and good over there, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. That's all. So one of the arcades that we went to a lot actually is called Taito Station, and the big one that we went to, out in front there was this little red robot guy that would clap his hands over his head and he would go "Arigatou gozaimasu." So Bradley and I, we're just roaming around the house, and we'll just randomly say that. We'll go "Arigatou gozaimasu," and then the other person would go like this. And that has been the running joke since we got home. So we're roaming around Taito Station, and we stumble upon the anime figures. And I'm walking around, and I spot an Okaroon from Dandadan. Bradley loves Dandadan. I'm not entirely sure what has struck a nerve with him with Dandadan. He absolutely loves, like, the story. He really likes the characters. And, I mean, I do too. But, like, I'm not putting Dandadan in my top 5, but he is. Little Okaroon. But I saw him and I thought of Bradley, and I was like, I may as well at least try, you know, just to see. I actually won 2 Okaroons. The other one is even bigger, and he's, like, tucked in the back corner up on the top shelf, and I was gonna knock over other figurines if I tried to get him down, so I'm just gonna show you guys this one. Maybe one day I'll be able to get him down and show you guys, but yeah. So this was the first one I got, just this little one, but still, I think it's a really good quality anime figure. Okay, I'm gonna bring you guys over here for me to be able to talk about this, because, so, we ran into a lot of different style of claw machines. The Okaroon that I won the first time was in what I think is referred to as a bridge-style claw machine, where, can you guys see my cursor? You can, sweet. So there are these 2, actually, this one's one of the rigged ones. I'll get to that, hang on. But there are these 2 bars, and the figurine is set perfectly in between the bars, so you have to kind of like You got to use the claw to twist it basically and get it to fall in between the bars. This was the one that I was really good at, actually. This one, it's not luck based. It's a skill based, honestly. You just need to pay attention to how the claw works and everything. And once I figured out exactly like where the claw drops, where it opens to and everything, that's where things really started to make sense. One thing I did notice while we were roaming around like other arcades was that some of them are very scammy, in my personal opinion. Like this one, it's really hard to see, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but right here, see that line? There is a rubber coating on the metal bar in this. That rubber coating is like sticky, and it does not allow the box to slide. Which, when we tried this one, one like this with the rubber coating, we tried it a couple of times and we were like, there's no way, because the box just wouldn't move. Another station, or another arcade that had like the rubber coating like this, also had a different style claw machine, like this. This one, we tried a couple of times and there was just like, no way. Maybe it's not rigged, but I definitely felt like it was. This is a rubber band, so it does not slide whatsoever, and the tension of it holds onto the box, so the box will actually like swing up and down if you get a hold of it. This one feels a lot more luck-based and kind of scammy in my opinion because it's rubber. So, like, you can kind of see how much more is working against you in this case. And the claw machines are set up the same way that they are here in America, where the claw itself is not strong enough to just grab the item. You're supposed to lift and drop it over and over again. Like, that's how this works. Well, how this one works, like lifting and dropping the box. Anyway, the arcades that we really enjoyed going to were the Taito stations because they didn't have any of these, like, rubber, coatings on anything. So everything moved, everything felt winnable, and it was much more entertaining when you feel like you can kind of get somewhere if you are, what's the word? Persistent enough. So yeah, I stopped and I was trying to win Okaroon out of a bridge claw machine like this. But after a few tries, Bradley was back watching and I had gotten it like twisted. So I almost won it. It was just a matter of, like, how to get it in between the bars. In only a couple more tries, I did end up winning it. So I won a single figurine from a claw machine, and I got cocky. We roamed around Taito Station a little more, and I found another bridge-style claw machine with Shinobu in it. And she's in this cute little she's also up there, but she's in the back again, and I can't get her down without knocking over other ones. So... but she's in this cute little pose where she's like this, and she's got the cute little smile that she has, you know. She's not, like, my favorite character from Demon Slayer or anything, but I thought it was cute, and it was the same style of claw machine I already won. I won a previous one, so I was getting cocky, so I tried, and tried, and tried, and tried, and tried. She was temperamental. But I got her. I think this was all in Akihabara, by the way. Yeah, Akihabara was probably my favorite place, by the way. All the video game stores and tech stores and, like, everything was anime themed, and I really enjoyed it. Anyway, we were in Akihabara, and we were roaming around and looking at other arcades. Like, Bradley and I were kind of, like, just going to arcades at this point. And while we were roaming around, we found like 2 other arcades. The main one we spent a lot of time and money at was Taito Station. Another one that we found was Gigo, and then there was one other one in Akihabara that I cannot remember the name of it. But that one was like just claw machines. But after leaving the first Taito Station, there was a specific character figurine that I had spotted that I thought I could win. She gave us a lot of grief. Only to walk away from the machine and hear someone else walk up to the same machine and win said character figure. Alright, now it's personal. Not only that, but when we went to these other arcades that same character figurine kept showing her smug little face and taunting me. And this was the point where I found the other, like, kind of scammy ones, the ones with, like, the rubber coating and things like that, where I tried to win said character, and, like, the claw machine just felt rigged that I wasn't able to win. So, we go back to Taito Station. And it was one of those moments where I'm just like, you know, listen here, you little shit, you know, talking through the glass. Got my eyes on you kind of thing, right? And there were 2 of them. So I asked Bradley, I was like, all right, now it's personal. I'm winning one. It is official. I am winning one. We tried for the one that Bradley really liked. And after 3 or 4 arcades, way too many attempts, and probably way too much money, we won a pretty Frieren figure. Isn't she cute? I like that the plate? What's it called? Whatever this is called, the stand. I like that it's, like, clear and it looks like she's, like, floating, you know? Like, very cool. The other one, she was, like, down and, like, looking like she was in battle. But this one's really cool, too. I like that she's, like, floaty and, like, even the dress looks like she's floaty and everything. So, ooh! Her hair just fell off. So, Okarun was a smaller figurine, but I did mention that I had won a second one another day, and that one was a little bit bigger, and as you can see, this Frieren one is not exactly small either. So, needless to say, the boxes were a little bit big. And, yeah, we had to buy a whole new suitcase to bring everything home. You know, the typical Japanese tourist stereotype that you have to buy a suitcase to get everything home. We really wouldn't have had a problem if somebody didn't win 7 figurines out of the stupid claw machines, but I'm not naming any names. It's definitely my fault. And Bradley is not letting me live it down, just so you know. Anyway, I'll bring you guys back over here because the style of claw machine that I won Miss Frieren out of was a different style of claw machine. The bridge one, I think, is very much skill-based. With an understanding of physics and gravity, you can make it work. This one, however, is more about persistence. Because, so the claw is pretty similar, where you need to understand how far the claw opens and how far it drops and all that fun stuff. Your goal is to get the claw, which is covered by this, actually. I think this is a Bakugo figurine. It's really hard to see. I'm sorry, I couldn't find a better picture. Yeah, it looks like it because there's his red glove. But your goal is to get the arm of the claw into this circle. I think they're called UFO style. That's just what I found online, but maybe they're called something different. But you get the claw in this little ring, and you're supposed to pull the box over the edge so it falls. Again, the claw is not very strong. When you do catch the tab, it literally only nudges it. Just a little bit. Every single time. Just a little bit, right? To get Frieren, it took a level of persistence, but we got her. I didn't much care for the UFO ones because, like, those ones, like, I feel like they're made that you're supposed to spend way too much money before you actually win, but they do still feel winnable. You know, it's not like gambling. Like, I feel like the arcades and the claw machines are actually made more for entertainment rather than exploitation. When I walked in, I kind of thought it was gonna feel like a casino where I'm gonna just blow money and it not win anything. But when I started to win, it was like actually rewarding, you know? So yeah, I don't much care for the UFO ones, but I really enjoyed the bridge style ones. So while we were going through arcades, we were specifically trying to find the ones with the bridge style winning, or bridge style claw machines, which is how I won the second Okarun, and I think that's it. Yeah. Can't keep track of all the ones I won. Anyway, fast forward to the second to last day of Japan, and we went back to the arcade because I was having fun and Bradley was having a blast with how much fun I was having. Like, literally, I kept telling him, I'm sorry, I'm just having so much fun. Like, I want to try one more time, or I want to try, like, go convert another 1,000 yen for me or something like that, you know? And by convert, like, get change, because they all took change. Or I also used my Suica, which was not good, actually, because I almost ran out during a train ride when I was trying to get back to the hotel. We were floating around Yokohama, which was where we were staying, and there was the World Porters, which was a department store, and there was a floor with crane machines. And it was the second to last day in Japan, and I'm having fun with the crane machines, and I spy a character from a very specific anime that I may or may not have a huge soft spot for. It was a UFO-style claw machine, but we were kind of like, we have extra yen that we're not going to spend by tomorrow, so boy was this one temperamental. It was a larger figurine, and it was the UFO style, so it was supposed to move very little over and over and over again. The thing is that, like, the claw almost didn't drop far enough. Like, the tip of the claw would just, like, touch the tab. Like, very lightly, like, literally like that. I'm not even exaggerating. But the figure kept moving, so I wanted to be persistent. In all honesty, there, after way too much money put into this machine, Bradley and I were like, we gotta be done. There's no way. And then suddenly up behind us, we hear one of the staff members. He says, "I help." And I'm just kind of like, "Nani?" He came over and opened the case and shifted the figurine box to be closer to the edge. Much closer to the edge. Honestly, I think that this figure was way too heavy that we would not have won it if we didn't get an extra hand. So he adjusted the figure, closed up the case, and he tells me specifically, like, aim for the sticker, the tab, the circle. Well, the first attempt, because he set the figure on the edge, so the box was tipping. And like I said, the claw wasn't getting low enough to reach the tab in the first place, that this next attempt, I didn't even touch it. So the staff guy, he steps over again and he's looking at it and he says, "One more try." So we did one more try and he kind of guided me, and the claw just touched the tab. Like, it didn't even get, like, into the tab. It just touched it. And down it fell. Check out the badass Izuku Midoriya. Isn't he awesome? Oh my god. And he stands on his own. He doesn't need a stand. Ah, it's so cool. And I mean, he's dense. So it makes sense as to why I couldn't pick it up with the claw. But I was really confused as to why the guy came over and helped us. But I ended up looking into it, and like I said, arcades are supposed to be more for entertainment. So I think maybe he observed us trying for so long that he decided that we had put enough money into it, so we deserved it, basically. I don't know if they have, like, a program that monitors all that stuff or something like that, but no, it was really awesome, and it's actually kind of a fun story that we got a little bit of help. Frieren and Izuku were the only ones out of the UFO-style claw machines that we won. And Izuku, like I said, is a fun story because I got help from the staff. We didn't even ask for it. It was actually really funny because when he first adjusted it, he explained, he's like, go for the little sticker. And then he topped it off. He said, "Ganbare." And I was like, that is so appropriate because of the way My Hero ended. Like, but yeah, so this was the second to last day in Japan, and we were kind of just splurging at this point. We won Izuku, and then as I was roaming around Taito Station, there was another figurine that I specifically wanted, and it was in the bridge-style claw machine, so why not? For those of you that don't know, and actually I don't talk about it a whole lot on the channel because, like, I'm not huge about it, but when I was a child, I was actually much more of a Digimon fan than I was of Pokemon. Granted, Pokemon has had a much longer run than Digimon, but I remember I enjoyed Digimon more for the sheer fact that once they evolved, like, they could go back to their original form, you know, like, you didn't lose the original companion, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of fall in love with its first form, that when a Pokemon evolves and it never goes back, it's like, that kind of hurts me. But Digimon was different because once they powered up, they could go back. And I always really liked it. I was much more of a Digimon kid growing up. So while we were walking around Taito Station, we came across a claw machine, a bridge-style claw machine that had Digimon figurines in it. It wasn't necessarily my favorite Digimon. It was Gatomon. It's still a cutie one, but it's not my favorite one. I always liked, it had like a tiger look to it. Hang on. What was his name? Gabumon. He had like the tiger like coat over him and he had a horn on his head. He was in that machine actually. But this was the one that was actually on the bridge. So that was the one that I decided to win. My favorite part about winning the Gatomon, by the way. So it was the bridge style one, which I was already really good at, but it fell into the glass and the claw wouldn't come close enough to the glass to get it. However, it's in my hand, right? No, I didn't ask for help, okay? Because I didn't know I could at the time. We were like, God dang it, we're shit out of luck at this point, right? And Bradley was like, no, there's gotta be something we can do. Pokes glass, and it moves. And I was like, wait a second. And I push on the glass one more time, and down it falls. Behind Bradley, there was a couple, and the guy looks at me and he goes, I didn't beat the machine or anything like that, guys. Like, it literally was just like, I touched the glass and it fell. The glass had just enough give that it just needed a little bit of wobble to get the Gatomon to fall. That's really all it was. So it wasn't like violent or anything like that. And I'm so worried that people think like I beat the machine for it. I didn't. And after we won, we actually had gone back to see if they reset it with the other Digimon, and I was like, why don't we try and win it? Nah, they put the Gatomon back in it, which kind of sucks, because in all honesty, if it was the other one, I would have tried again. Because yeah, that was all we needed, was another figurine to bring home. On that topic, I did win one more after all that. I am not going to get her down because she has like a lot of pieces to her and she falls apart very easily. So she is going to stay where she's at. It was a Miku Hatsune figurine, specifically a Gundam style Miku Hatsune. So Bradley's a really, really big Gundam fan. Neither one of us are huge Miku Hatsune fans, but the style of the game caught my attention. This claw machine was set up very different than the ones that I've won already. And it was very, very much a luck-based game. It kind of looked like this. So in this picture, you see the claw without a claw, and there's a chain with a hook on it. And on the box, there's a ring that you're supposed to hook the hook to. The way the one I found, the way that one was set up was that the box had these little hooks on it, and on the claw was this chain with a ring. So it was just a little reversed. So I saw it, and it was very much luck-based. So I was just like, why not? Like, I just want to try. And I got way too close. So I tried again. And I tried again. Obviously, if you move the crane, then the chain is going to start swinging. So you actually don't know where it's going to drop on the hook. It was 100% luck-based that I won. And I know I said I'm not going to get her down, but she's up there. I swear. Like, we won. Just in case you guys don't believe me, this is the picture that we posted on Discord the night after I won these 3 figurines. Izuku, Gatomon, and there's Miku Hatsune. Yeah, the claw machines were fun. And I even I made the joke with Bradley that gambling addiction runs in the family, so he shouldn't be enabling it. However, I was just having so much fun. I didn't think I would have as much fun with them as I did. Holy cow, this video has gotten so long. But I was like trying to set stuff up like with the pictures and stuff like that. So I have no idea how long I've been rambling. But like I said, I just wanted to talk about some of my favorite things. Some of the stuff that I specifically wanted you guys to know about, I guess. At the beginning of the video, I told you guys that the reason I wanted to go to Japan was because of Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, and Maiden of Blackwater do not have physical copies available in America. Could I have bought it online? Sure. However, I could also pick it up where it all started. Crimson Butterfly Remake, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse Remake, or Remaster, I think it should be called, and the Maiden of Blackwater Remaster. Crimson Butterfly was pretty easy to come across since it's just released, so it was in like the front case and everything. So this one was easy to find. When we were at that book off with the, like, it was the buy-sell trade, that's where we found Maiden of Blackwater. Bradley originally found it on Switch first because it was actually like facing out on the shelf, so he recognized the cover for me. And I didn't want it on Switch. I wanted it on PlayStation. I've played all of my Fatal Frame games on PlayStation, and I'm not stopping now. I'm not passionate about it or anything. I looked at, on the Switch case, I looked at what the kanji looks like for Fatal Frame, because I don't know how the alphabet, well, it's not an alphabet, but I don't know how they, for lack of a better word, by the way, I don't know how they alphabetize stuff over there. So I know it's called Zero. I know in Japan the title is Zero, right? Yeah, Zero. But I didn't know where in their alphabet the Z sound fell and everything. So I grabbed the Switch case and I looked at the edge and I just scanned for what looked like this, and god damn it, I found it. However, I went up and I did ask if they had Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. I asked in Japanese, by the way. I did ask if they had Mask of the Lunar Eclipse available, and they said no. I did end up finding it. It was at the last game store we went to. I can't remember. It wasn't a buy-sell trade store. It was a full-priced game, so it wasn't used. Thank God we all use Arabic numbers, by the way. But I was looking for rated D, right? Which is highlighted in orange because it's a mature rating. So that's what I was looking for to find Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. But when I was scanning, I found Maiden of Blackwater, which I recognized it from the kanji on the side because I already found it. And then I looked next to it and I found another one, and it was it. However, I realized that Mask of the Lunar Eclipse is rated C, which is 15 and older. Why is this one rated lower? I guess it's not... There's not a whole lot of, like, traumatic imagery, I think. Because, like, in Maiden of Blackwater, like, there's, like, the cutscenes of the girls being locked in a box and drowned. Or there's even, like, them jumping off the cliff, you know, like, depictions of suicide, you know, like... That's very traumatizing imagery. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of, like, traumatic imagery in Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. But I find it really funny that I was looking for the D ratings, and it was a different rating. So there was probably a copy at the buy-sell trade store that I completely overlooked. Or no, because I asked if they had it, and they said no. This right here is truly the highlight of my trip. This, literally, I told Bradley that if I don't come home from Japan with physical copies of Fatal Frame, I didn't do Japan right. Like I said, I could have got them online. I'm a much bigger advocate for physical copies, physical media. For one, I like the way it looks on my shelf. I like showing off my collection. And two, if my PlayStation suddenly takes a shit, or if the PlayStation Network shuts down, then I don't have my game anymore. Now I do. And I'm learning Japanese, so hopefully I'll be able to keep up just fine. Just fine. So yeah, those ones were the big ones, and I wanted to share those stories specifically. I wanted to share them where I could actually, like, get my thoughts out and edit it together properly, or at least as properly as I can. Like I said, I have no idea how long this video is getting, but there's so much more that I can share with you guys, but so that way this video doesn't get too long. I am gonna leave it at that. Once I fully recover from the absolute adrenaline and shock and jet lag that I'm experiencing, I will be hopping into Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake. That is going to be the next playthrough on the channel. And if you guys want to hear more about my Japan trip, I'm sure I'm going to be talking about it in the Fatal Frame playthrough. I'll talk about it a lot on stream. Hopefully I can get back into the swing of things sooner rather than later, but we shall see. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.